Yo, yo, yo. Here I am coming at you from the steering wheel, the best spot ever. And I'm going through one of those periods again where I'm having a dream dry spell, but something fascinating is going on in that my memories are flooding back of dreams I've had over the years, some going back many years. And you guys already know my opinion on dreams, that I believe many of them are you observing a parallel self, living a parallel life in another avatar, in another reality. And last few days I've been having a lot of almost nostalgic like feelings over some of these places in my dreams, because some of them are really remarkable, beautiful, fascinating places, and I kind of wish I was there in some of these places, you know? And I've really kind of thought about it and realized like this is not a usual thing. I don't think it's particularly normal or common, for people to remember dreams they've had years back. But there's dreams I remember from like childhood, and of course certain people do remember things that are really that distinctive and maybe had a really profound impact on them. But there's just dozens of scenarios and places swirling around in my head, right? And it's just it's a fascinating feeling. It's a fascinating state of being that I actually enjoy being in. But I do miss having, dreams themselves, which I haven't had one I can remember for weeks now. However, having said that, I talked about many times over the years on this channel, about incarnation and the process of incarnation, and, the debate between soul trap or not soul trap, right? And, I've really come to the conclusion that, there's just myriads and myriads of forms and ways in which a soul can end up here. Countless ways, just like there's countless varieties of everything in life. There's countless varieties of ending up here from, I think the most common one is just, simply that a soul, so, births out, for lack of a better word, out of the source and incarnates here to experience this place directly from the source, and then others being what you would call star seeds, right, or from alien worlds incarnating here, and then those more advanced beings who place themselves, their own bodies, their original bodies, in suspended animation to incarnate here for specific purposes, where if they're evolved enough, they would only need to sort of separate a portion of their consciousness for them to end up in a place like this. But there is other things that happen too. Shamans and wizards and people who, or souls that are practicing sort of what you would call magic, they end up here as well. And I'm not necessarily talking about Earth, because this plane is so dense that if a shaman were to have a soul exit and incarnate into another life, that physical body would likely die. I'm not saying it never happened before here in this plane. It might have. I have no idea. I'm just saying that I just don't think it's very likely. However, in other realms, in other more advanced realms, a wizard, a shaman, a worker of those sort of things can place himself in a sort of trance or induce a sort of trance-like state. And in that realm, he can have his soul exit his body, or a portion of his soul, and incarnate to this realm, to any different time or timeline, or whatever the case may be. And there could be many reasons why this would be taking place. Now, for example, let's say in their home world, in their home reality, they are noticing an influx of distressing energy or low vibrating quantum oscillating harmonics affecting their world. So they would have a council or a meeting where they would try to determine where this energy is coming from. And in some cases, they would leave their bodies and actually go explore the place on such a deep level that they end up being born here. But in their trance-like state on their realm, they may be out for a few hours, a few days. But here, it's an entire lifetime that they're living. And they're grounding themselves here for the purposes of obtaining and gathering the necessary information that they feel like they need to work with. They internalize that information so that they can work with it and basically heal whatever happened to their world, because this planet is so powerful, energetically speaking. It's like a spider web of information that goes from here throughout the entire cosmos, and it affects everything. So they would have to go back, ground themselves here. And I'm not saying they always necessarily incarnate. Sometimes they just astral travel here. But this sort of process I think is actually more common than we think. And there are more souls here that are part of that process than we like to realize. And there could also be a situation, for example, where there's one particular individual in that home planet of theirs that is not healed from a past life, for example, or is having memories return of a past life that is causing them harm and distress in that current realm, in that higher realm that they're in. So, for example, a healer, a shaman, would try to pinpoint, would go into, or they would go into like the Akashic records or whatever, and they would access the past life that's causing this particular individual distress. And in some cases, they would incarnate here specifically to be their friend, that soul, when he lived that life here, to be their friend in this life, to try to kind of reverse course, to change the past, or to have an influence on them so that they could heal in that time that they're in now. I know that was confusing as hell. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. So, there is a timeline. There is a soul in distress who lived the life here. The healer goes back into our realm to be that person's friend when they lived their life here, to try to influence them and heal them here in this life, so that they can return to their realm and understand at a really deeper, more personal level, the causes of things, right? So that also, I believe, is a bit more common than we think, and more souls are engaged in this here than you can imagine. There's also rather strange situations that happen on occasion when the trance is induced by some sort of ritual magic, and it is coming from a negative sphere of things, where there's certain kind of magic portals, so to speak, that are opened by more like nefarious deities in their home planets, is what I'm talking about. Not necessarily here, where they can open up like a portal and entrance a higher dimensional soul, like sort of artificially. I don't want to use that word. And they could sort of inadvertently end up temporarily leaving their home, but on a they would still agree to incarnate here, but it would induce sort of an out-of-body experience in a trance-like state, this sort of ritual magic and these sort of traps. I hate using that word, but these traps, and again, it could be a similar situation where on their home world, they're out for a few hours or a few days, and they live an entire lifetime here. On many worlds, time stretches much longer. Much longer. And the perception of time is completely different than here. Over here, it's like a endless whirlpool. It's just moving faster and faster and faster. But generally speaking, that's not normal, and not really common in the cosmos, I believe, at least. So my point is, from this video, is there could be some of you that you don't know about. Maybe some of you are healers. Maybe some of you are wizards, and you're here and you're helping a friend that's your friend here, and also in your home world, and you don't even know. It could be a family member. It could be your sister that you're trying to heal this particular life that you went back in time to, and you're trying to heal it to help them in that current state of being. Right? So my point is that there's noble causes at play here, right? And countless deviations and ways in which souls can be here. Maybe contracts or no contracts or whatever. It's just not one singular linear thing that describes everything. There is kind of like, I do believe that the majority here are from the source. They just spun out from the source and were born here. Okay, the majority. And then I wasn't open to NPCs before. I am now, since we're in the Mandela affected realm, and I don't know what this is. I am now. My opinion has changed on that, so we could have that. And what that's supposed to mean, I have no idea. The non-player character robotoids, total possibility at this point. Anyway, I'm gonna continue reflecting upon my my other lives, because to me it's empowering to do. Okay, because it's empowering because you internalize, how big you are, how expansive you are, how eternal you are. And that realization comes from all that eternal experience, right? And just existence in general is so incredibly fascinating, with all the form and structure and all the beauty and not beauty. And it's all just so incredibly like a mosaic of everything. And there's beauty in it, you know? There's beauty even in this Mandela realm here, somewhere. It's hard to find, but it's here somewhere. So that's it for today. Take it easy.